Boom.
Biddly, 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 but yes, yo, here we go. You know what time it is. Ain't nobody down round here. Although I've had a bit of a downer of a day, but I've just been on Just Yours podcast, which has put me in a bit of a better mood. So get that badger in and on and over here. We've got a scrolling thing along the bottom of the thing. We're moving on up, baby, moving on up. So we've got loads to get going at here. Well, not loads to be fair, but we're going to give a quick quick debrief. Is it a debrief? We don't like the word debrief, actually. But I won't get into that. Shout out to Wayne Garbutt and shout out to Daz All Leeds out. We're both members of the channel. You're much appreciated, boys. Meslier, silent S, which people are now in the comments telling me that I need to start pronouncing his name correctly, which I disagree with. I'm not going to... If something comes up, it must come out. If I ain't changing for no man. The boom stays. Meslier, silent S, was apparently in tears after the game, according to Farkit, in the changing rooms. And you might say, well, he very well must have been and should have been, which is, I would argue, also a fair point. But the point is, you know, this thing about him this laughter track that he's been on with it, you know, he just found it hilarious, loving it with the opposite manager. He knew the opposite manager. He'll have been wanted the world to eat him alive. He'll have been absolutely devastated. I said what I need to say about it yesterday in a video. It's a freak incident. The Firpo thing is getting blown out of proportion also. So there's like calls on Twitter. We're going to do a little Twitter episode as well at the end. A bit of fun towards the end of today's podcast. But yeah, Firpo apologising allegedly, like needs to... Well, no, not allegedly. He hasn't issued an apology to Meslier, silent S, and there's a strong reason for that. It's because he doesn't need to apologise. He's not necessarily mad at Meslier. I honestly don't think that. I think he's just lost his marbles and needs to get off the pitch. He did the right thing. He got himself down into the changing room. Get me out of here. You know, I've lost it. He thought he'd got the winner. He had a really good performance. You know, it was awful. He reacted in that way. Meslier, silent S, smiled at the end. He was having like micro conversations with everybody that walked past him. It was like 2 seconds. That's not normal behaviour. That's behaviour of somebody that is literally like dying inside. Total embarrassment. Embarrassed for himself. He's aware of all this insane storm that's going to come at him, all the death threats, all the lot, which, you know, is part of being a professional footballer. If you did that at work, you know, if I came into Greg's and started like throwing your sausage rolls back at you because they weren't warm enough and started saying you're the worst baker in the business, you know, and you go, well, I'm not a baker, I just stand behind counter and deliver them. Like, well, you can't even do that. So, you know, people don't do that and people don't judge themselves at the same moral high ground as some footballer playing football. I tweeted out yesterday that world leaders send young men to fight in wars, fighting pointless wars, to send them to go die. I didn't tweet that. I'm ripping my own tweet up here. I tweeted, world leaders send young men into pointless wars. Let me find the tweet. Let's find this tweet. Let's find this puppy. Oh, I've been on a mad one. World leaders send young men to die in pointless wars. Not a word. World leaders force you to stay in the house over a flu. Not a word. A player from the football club you allegedly support misjudges a ball and then there's death threats. It's wild to me. It's insane. H. Google says, stop with the shit clickbait headlines. You're better than that. Well, number one, no, I'm not better than that. Number two, it's not clickbait, it's sickbait, mate. And it's not clickbait due to the fact that the bloke is getting death threats. So ultimately, people are saying that he does need to be replaced, he needs to be dropped, he needs to be this, and he needs to be that. So the title says something I disagree with, granted. But then in the video, if you care to watch it, I go into the fact that I'm actually defending him to some extent. I'm not defending the mistake that was made. I just said it doesn't affect him going forward. I hope it doesn't affect him going forward. He will be our number one this year and in the Premier League when we go up. The reason for that is the club will be looking after the asset. The two goalkeepers behind him are absolutely worthless in money. They're not going to sell on for a penny. You might get 100 grand for one of them. There's not going to be a lot of money there. Meslier, silent S, will be sold some point in the future. If he's not to be our Premier League goalkeeper, the club will make out as though silent S wants to leave and we will bring in a replacement for him. We will not be actively searching for a replacement. They will make some money on Meslier, silent S, and he will go on to have a superb career. These mistakes, if not ironed out, he'll still end up at a decent side. If he does iron them out, there's no level to the level that he can get at. I truly do believe that. I know everybody's frustrated with him and what have you, but David De Gea made a lot of mistakes and ended up being Man U's best player. It's unbelievable to me that people didn't think we played well on Friday. The mind quite literally boggles with that. I thought we were excellent, and had it not been for the wild mistake, we go home with 3 points and everybody thinks it's superb away win that at Sunderland, who were definitely good value. Rothwell and Tanaka, I thought were standouts. Thought Firpo were a standout. I thought Nonto worked himself into ground. Aronson's got a lot of stick, but I thought Rothwell and Tanaka, I thought Rothwell looked amazing. Like the willingness to go forward and the fact he constantly looked like clipping it in. My man Peru getting the goals, it's just mint. Rutter's been getting pelters at half-time from our alleged fan base, who now, because they love Rutter now, even though Rutter got a lot of stick towards the end of the season, even though he was injured, and then coming back from an injury got a lot of stick. But they love him now, just like they love Somerville, and they'll never shut up about Rafinha and stuff. And I like all these players, they did really well for us, but they seem to forget how disrespectful they was to them moments before they left, and then when they leave, they go. But luckily for some people, they still don't like Rutter. So we're getting pelters at half-time for losing ball against Tottenham. They went on and scored. Well, in the second half, he then goes on to rip it up, rip Tottenham a new one, goes and gets a goal, then gets his assist. Involvement in 2 goals. You've probably seen both sides of Rutter. We all know, it's like I'm talking to someone, we all know he can lose the ball a bit in silly areas. I think, again, similar to Meslier Sound, if he irons that out, he will be some player. So we go on to our Sunday segment, which is wild Twitter takes. So one day we'll have it all pop up and it'll go, wild Twitter takes. Nonto has always been better than Somerville. That is a tweet from someone in the World Wide Web, which is a wild statement. I actually, crazily, agree with that. I think Nonto is probably better than Somerville. I think he's got a higher ceiling to get at. He's younger. I'm not sure their age difference, to be fair, but I think Nonto's got more about him. I think the higher Nonto plays at level-wise, I think the better he'll get. I think Nonto's more versatile. I think he can score more different types of goals. I think Somerville's slightly one-dimensional, although he's absolutely superb and he's rapid, but Nonto's fast. I think Nonto's probably... So that's a wild Twitter take that I kind of agree with. The reason why I'm using it as a wild Twitter take is because why are we still referencing Somerville and Nonto as though... What was interesting about Somerville and Nonto, they swapped their value. So initially it was Nonto that were going, and when we were in Premier League, Somerville couldn't get a look in. Then we had a year in Championship, and that is what they will have produced to Nonto and said, look, if you do well in Championship, you'll be a 30 million footballer, and you will go on to a big club if you think West Ham are a big club. The other wild take is Meslier, silent S, is the worst goalkeeper in the UK. Madness. The other wild take is match fixing at its finest, I reckon. Wild take. Then the last wild take, and I love Aronson, and I'm glad he's back. I don't love him, but I'm glad he's back. He's done really well for us. Aronson is better than Rutter. Bing, bang, boom. Perfect sign-off. Check my music out. Appreciate every which one of you. Like, subscribe, bring a badger, bring him in, bring him on, bring him over here. Let's go.
Boom.
JackCity, bitch. JackCity, bitch. Hey!
I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna play no games. No, I don't wanna hear your promises. You do you and I'll do me. That's just the way it is. Don't wanna ever feel surprised. That's why I ask no.